It's indeed my pleasure to talk about the LaTeX, or in fact, typesetting books and its variants using LaTeX, right? So I've been typesetting a lot of documents like lecture notes and other related stuff using LaTeX. It's my pleasure to teach you all my professional repertoire, right? So without any further ado, let's get started. Before we get into the core concepts or the typesetting procedures using LaTeX, let me give you a brief, quote or a prologue. In fact, this is one of my favorite quotes. It says that he who is theoretic as well as practical is therefore doubly armed. So which means that, for example, if you learn the concepts of the typesetting using LaTeX, that isn't enough. You should also practice. That will be a key factor that will make you more versatile. So that is the key takeaway for you today. So I'll be giving you or sharing my experience, and in the post lecture period you can practice those things and you can make your documents more versatile, right? So let's get into the So this is the outline of my presentation. First, I'll be introducing LaTeX. In fact, you can take a look at this particular font itself. It looks pretty different. So it's just, I've just typeset this presentation itself in LaTeX. And this is the second version. In fact, even this is now extended. Like it got extended.
எல்லாரையும் இன்டர்வியூ கூப்பிடுவாங்களான்றதே தெரியல. எக்ஸ்பீரியன்ஸ் இருக்கிறவங்க இருக்காங்க. ஏபி செட் குவாலிஃபை ஆனவங்க, டிஎன் செட் குவாலிஃபை ஆனவங்க.
Participant, please mute yourself. Participant, mute yourself. Thank you. Sorry, sir. You can start.
Yeah, you can see this font itself is pretty different. Like, and this is second version of LaTeX. Now, from this June onwards, we have LaTeX 3. So I'll explain you about that. But this is what we've been using for more than 10 years, like from 2010 or 14 onwards, and it's still been in practice, right? So that's the basic thing. And then we'll talk about typesetting books, templates, and hands-on demo. Then we'll talk about the books and variants and reports and so on. And I just call books variant, rather than I call report, magazines, and other related stuffs, because those are also done basically using the same procedure like in the case of a book, right? It could be a class lecture notes, or it could be a scientific reports or a laboratory report. All those things can be done using book class itself. So we'll talk about that in much detail. And finally, we'll have a Q&A. Could you please mute yourself, the participants?
Sir, I will mute all. You unmute yourself and talk.
Yes.
Sir, can you give me
yes.
the host? Co-host?
Sir, you unmute yourself and talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I think it's fine. I think some people have scribbled.
Yeah. 1 minute, sir. I will check it up. Sir. So please write, if you are doing some adventurous things, don't do it in this workshop, do it somewhere else, please. Hope you will cooperate with us. Yes, sir. Sir, I don't know how to erase that. Ramesh Kannan, sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have myself done that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
All right. So let's get into LaTeX. So I hope many of you are probably new to LaTeX, and some of you have experience in LaTeX. So I'll give you a quick overview of LaTeX. Then we'll get into the typesetting typesetting the books using LaTeX. So introduction. Before June, probably this month, even during May. You can go to Google and type ProTeX, and that will take you to this page called ProTeX, a tech distribution for Windows. And when you log in, and that will take you to this page, and where you can download the ProTeX zip file. But from June 2022, LaTeX 3 was launched. So which means that LaTeX 2 is probably an obsolete now. But don't take it pretty easily, that it's in use, right? So LaTeX 2 has been used for many years, and it's still in use. But LaTeX 3 is a newer version of LaTeX. but the syntax and all the other related stuff are probably the same. Right? But now if you type in Google, that will take you to this page, the Protect, and then it will say all past releases of Protect has been publicly archived. So that will take you to this thing, and you can use any of the URL. Probably this URL will be really good, like US mirrored site, and that will take you to this, and you can click on the system, and then that will navigate to Protect. And then you can download the latest version, like 2021. The March version of it got archived. I can see the last modified is on 5th month of 30, which is a May 30. It got archived. And when you click on that, that will take you to the zip folder, and where you can download the Protect, the complete MikTeX distribution for Windows. Right. So if you have not installed, you can probably make use of this thing. For your LaTeX practice or something like that. And then like for the benefit of the beginners, I have made some few tutorials like ranging from 2 minutes to 5 minutes and 10 minutes on how to install LaTeX and how to configure a text maker and so on. So people who are really interested in probably they can take a look at this particular YouTube thing. So I'll share the link. Probably you can note that. That'll be useful for you while practicing it and something like that. Right, let me put it in the chat so that everybody can see that. So this is for the benefit of the people. Yes, I think hope you got the link, so you can practice that. We will be very glad if you really brush up your basics on the LaTeX. So this is an advanced lecture, advanced LaTeX training. So this few nuances of basics will be not dealt in detail, right? So you can take a look at the videos later on, right? Now let's take a look at the typesetting using LaTeX, right? So before we get into the codes and the related stuffs, let's take a look at the softwares, or popularly known as IDEs, Integrated Development Environment for typesetting LaTeX, right? So as I told you, MikTeX distribution is the wholesome package of LaTeX for Windows systems. Right. So when you install that, you need a compiler to compile, or an IDE to extract or make up your document. Right. So the IDE I just prefer is the text maker. This is the latest version during filming this particular lecture. It will be varied. I use the older version, but today if you download, it is 5.1.3, and I feel this is more relevant to beginners because it has an intelligent capacity, which means that when you start typing the code, it automatically asks for suggestions. Whether if you put /include, then it will ask like include images or include pages, and it completes the code. If you start typing in /begin document, it will ask for you to prompt the end document or something like that. Right. So this is an one that's called intelligence capacity. So I just recommend you. Or if you are very much interested in working online, then you can probably use Overleaf, which is also an online LaTeX editor, but there is always a caution. I'll let you know what is that. So this is free, but if you take a look at that in much detail, but this is not preferred for typesetting books, because books and other related stuff, say for example 200 page book, if you typeset it, then it will not compile. It will ask you to upgrade it. Like the free can only process a very minimum pages. So if you're typesetting a letter or a document or even an article with 8 pages, it can probably compile it very quickly. But in the case of a book, it takes a lot of effort, and finally it asks you to upgrade it or something like that, right? So that's why I don't prefer Overleaf for typesetting book. For small documents, for making the graphs or infographics, probably we'll have a separate session on creating graphs. So you can probably use Overleaf for creating those if you don't have a text maker or Protect installed in your machine. These are some of the works that I've just carried out. I teach construction project management. So this is typically the Gantt chart. So I did it in Overleaf. And also Overleaf have quite a good number of templates. right? Say, for example, in this lecture, we'll be looking into books. So when you go to book, template in overleaf and book, that will take you to a lot of, examples. Like you can take this Legrand orange book template and you can modify that based on your requirements. Or it has also got the reports, different variations of the reports and so on. And you can modify, you can change this picture and you can rename this and you can make use of this and something like that. And pretty much important thing that I want to emphasize is if you have a lot of equations and a lot of tables and graphs, then LaTeX will be a very ideal choice for you. So generally they say if you have a more beautiful equations and more complex equations, then you have to do with LaTeX, because that will be more ease when compared to other word processing software, right? In the lecture title itself is the book and its variant. Even class lecture notes can be converted in form of a book. We'll be seeing that in much detail. So all these things are pretty much an example, right? Or if you want to create some diagrams from the existing, so you can go to texample.net, where in which you have got a lot of examples, and you can take, for example, if you want to have this kind of an isometric view of a particular element, you can take this. If you want to have, instead of the frustum, cone frustum, you can, if you want to convert that into a cone, you can preferably use this code and you can manage whatever things that you are required or something like that. So that's typically another example where you can use this particular site. And one piece of advice is nobody in the world know everything about LaTeX. So it's the source code or the applications of LaTeX is wide variety of them, right? For example, people with they study music theory also use LaTeX for creating the musical notes. Probably that may not be my cup of tea, so I don't have to really work on that, and that's how it is, right? So nobody knows. It's all about my requirement and but the problem is that there are a lot of textbooks available, blogs available, but you should know certain basics. Then only with that you can search for the your requirements or something like that. So I'll be teaching that also a little bit in the due course of this lecture. So this is a very, very important thing, right? So this is called text.stackexchange.com. So this is a site where in which the questions, like if you have any questions regarding the construction, but you have to give minimum working example, which means that you should have a small code that you should give it to them with a question stating that this is difficult. And there are a lot of people, like millions of people are there. They will be, answering you within due course of time, right? Something like that. And you'll get votings based on the relevance of your, if it is really difficult to do it, they will give you good voting. So that will be useful for the other people who use LaTeX, right? So I've been using that. So one example I'll tell you is I've been creating this chess diagram using a XSKAK package. And I have a doubt, then I just posted in the forum, and then it gets answered by Ulrich Fischer. Right, so it's somebody who have answered this, and I've just rectified that. Then when I just went back and checked who's Ulrich Fischer, she's actually the person who developed that package, like SKAK package. So she's such a very high profile people, so they can help you. Even you get minimum. This is just not a very big doubt, but it's even a minimum doubt. So even people can happy to help you. And sometimes you'll also gain experience. You'll also contribute to people's questions also. Like this is the question I have answered. And then it's just like glowing text. This is something like how do you highlight the text or something like that. So I've just answered and people upvoted, and we get a lot of credentials like silver button, bronze button, something. People like Ulrich Fischer have got gold buttons. So they are like very high profile. Dealing with a lot of problems related to LaTeX and providing solutions. And then like Facebook, this is a very, very good group in Facebook called LaTeX user group. Like 4.3K members are there. And if you want to learn LaTeX and understand it much detail, then you can probably follow this page. And recently, people have launched, LaTeX 3. You can see Frank Mittelbach, who's a pioneer person. Like in case you have LaTeX companion book, he's the author of the LaTeX companion book. So he will be giving us an idea of like this LaTeX 3 and related stuff and so on. So he is Frank Mittelbach. So he has written 2 books, many books on LaTeX, and this is the very famous book, the LaTeX Companion, and also another book called the LaTeX Graphics Companion. These are considered to be like the Bible of LaTeX. So if you want to learn many things about LaTeX, the basics and other related stuff, you can probably download these books, or you can buy a paperback copy of these as well. Right, now let's get into the core concept, the today's lecture, which is the introduction to typesetting books with LaTeX. Right. So let me give you a brief overview. Let me unshare this and let me go to. I'll just close this for a moment. Right. So is my screen visible? Is my screen visible to everybody? Can someone respond?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your screen is.
Yes. So this is a site that you should be really looking into, which is called CTAN, which means that Comprehensive Tech Archive Network. So this is CTAN. So if you want to download packages or know about something, then you can probably go to this thing. So I'm going to click this. That will take me to this page where you can browse about packages, something like that. So there are pre-built one is called packages, topics, contributors. I just do a rough search called book, and I'm going to give a search. That will take me to this package called book. So I'm going to click this. That will take me to this page where I can download the documentation for that book in a PDF format. It will give me, the items related to the codes related to typesetting books and something like that. It is basically, giving me an idea about this, like the fonts and the related stuff and something like that. Right. So this is one, and you can even see some of the examples, collection of books. Say, for example, first step in LaTeX, and probably you can get this downloaded and you can read on your own. And Arabic books and so many different things that comes in books, like this song book, lyrics and chord books. As I told you, music enthusiasts can use this and so on. There are a lot of contributions on books, like you can probably, yes, sir.
So that web pages are not visible.
Okay, sir. 1 second. I'll just I'll share the screen. Is it visible, sir? Yeah, okay. So I'll just do a quick view. So when I type in book search, then it will take me to a humpty number of searches. Like you can see 309 hits, which means that I have got 309 items to be listed. And then like examples, and you can see the Serbian book. Probably you can take a look at this. It has its own PDF file for compiling using the Serbian books. And this is how it is, like the document class and memor and packages required, begin document, end document, and you have a sample book of how it is. For example, this is a Serbian language. So they have got these things printed like, so it's an example of how to typeset using that. And same way, you have plenty of books like Arabic books and some other like song books, as I told you, which is the for music enthusiasts, like they can record their song or document their songs using the song book and so on. Something like that. So they have its own codes and something like that. So some have examples and some have only descriptions of the thing. And this is quite a good thing. So you can take a look at that. Right. So book is what we can be using, a class of typesetting books. But there's another thing is called memor, which is also a type of book which is used for typesetting non-fictional and mathematical books, right? So we can take a look at this user manual. So this is a memory class. It's something related to books. It has its own, you can see how beautiful this table of contents and this kind of things comes in memory. And there are a lot of varieties of memory also, like they will be giving some examples probably at the end. Or you can even go to Google with templates of memory. Yeah, like this, how to make, the frame, the tables and something like that. All those things are pretty much same. And then finally, it is called SCR book, which is a ComaScript book. Yeah, SCR book. You can see it's case sensitive, right? I typeset with capital S and it throws me not much collection. This is one. So it's in German and this is in English. So you can click on this, and this is also another type of book written in ComaScript. So this is also pretty much a useful thing. You can see the fonts, it's their style, and how it beautifully comes, like introduction and something like that. But the logic remains the same. The logic remains the same for book, memory, and ComaScript or whatever. So that will be taking a look at much detail in a couple of minutes later. But these are the three different ways in which you can construct a book and something like that, right? Right. So let me go to the presentation. Right. So these are comprehensive tech archive network. When we talked about book, we talked about memory class, and we also talked about SCR book, which is ComaScript book class and something like that. Right. All right. So with this, we'll be taking a look at the hands-on version or the actual procedure to typeset a book in LaTeX. Right. So before that, let me share you another document, like it'll be useful for people who are really beginners to LaTeX. Right? So I'll just share this. So this is a basic syntax of LaTeX, right? So kindly pay attention to this. This is probably the most important thing that you should know. So you can find a lot of helps online, but you should know the fundamentals of constructing the LaTeX documentation, right? So this is the first step. And this is called syntax, right? So the first and foremost important thing is document class, and there's something that's called option and with a class file. So .cls is a class file. In fact, during this series, specialized session is also dedicated for creating a class file, right? So in this lecture, we'll be taking a look at the book class file. So book for typesetting LaTeX, but this is the class file in which you can also create on your own. Like, so we can do that probably when you do that particular lecture and something, right? Then it's the options called packages. These are just options. If you require a package, then you have to incorporate. Say, for example, if you want to incorporate images or multimedia graphics, then you should probably look into a package called graphics, GRAPHIX, right? So that's a very interesting thing. And then if you want to include multi-row, then you have to incorporate a multi-row package and so on. If you wanted to insert color text, you can use Xcolor package and so on. So there are quite a number of packages. And if you want to insert some, ornamental symbols, then you can probably select the appropriate packages for creating that, right? So there is a book I'll show you, which is the Comprehensive Symbols in LaTeX. So which is a very good book so that you can make use of it for your documentation, right? And then it's begin document and end document. So whatever is in between document class and begin document and end document, we call that as a preamble. So a preamble is one that's an additional auxiliary support mechanism to make your document or to enhance your document, right? Something like that. So if you want to create a pie chart, you can do it in Excel, and you can include that as an image in document, but you can even directly do it in LaTeX itself. So there's a package called PGF Pie, right? So PGF Pie, where you can do the pie chart within the document itself, right? So we'll be taking a look at a little bit of that, right? Then the actual body of the LaTeX, which is the begin document and end document, right? So within that, whatever you typeset it, that will get printed or gets visualized, right? And in morning, probably you would have learned that LaTeX is not what you see and what you get. It is a compiler based thing, which has to go through certain mechanisms, and then it will gets compiled and visualized. So that's a basic advantage of LaTeX, and that's also the disadvantage. Sometimes if you had an erroneous code, it gets printed and finally you will not able to retrieve it back or something like that. So you need to really do with caution. But in Word, if you copy paste it, probably that stays the same, stays in that same place and something like that. Why? Right. So this is typically the syntax of LaTeX, right? So in the class file, we'll be taking a look at the book class, and the packages required to typesetting books will be discussed here. And then the environment, it could be a table, it could be an image or figure, or it could be an equations, or it could be a theorem, or it could be a definitions, or even exercise problems that are required to typeset a book will be discussed in the hands-on thing, right? Right, so that's it. We will, I'll quickly share another document. So before we get into that book typesetting, let's take a look at the document classes, the first document classes. There are 11 types of document classes, like article, proceedings is for conference, and minimal is for a short note or something like that, and standalone for clip of a document. It could be an image, or it could be a small text or something like that. And report, you can see report, book, and memo almost synonymously similar, but report can be of a different nature in terms of like article also. So we'll come back to that a little later. Then slides, in fact, the one which you see the slides is called Beamer, which is also created using LaTeX. And then later leaflet, Beamers for creating the slides, and exam question papers and answer, answer key preparations. You can use this particular thing, right? And there are special document class. This not comprehensively, just wanted to give you, like if you are typesetting Elsevier document, so you need to give else article instead of just the article, right? And if you're typesetting Springer journals, SVJO UR3. In fact, now this gets changed to Springer Nature also. SNJ also, you can check that. And IEEE transactions for conference proceedings, you can use this IEEE tran instead of for the article. You can typeset it here, the particular class. You can make use of that document, right? Something like that. And these are the options. We talk about options here. What font, what paper, and how you want to visualize. Like other things will be, put it in this options. For example, our case is book and memo. It could be A4 paper or A5 paper or B5 paper, or if you're not providing the description of the paper, you can create on your own, like with a geometry package. So we'll be discussing that in a little later. And very important thing is the default point size is 10 in LaTeX. But if you want to override it with 11 point or 12 point, this is just like a Microsoft Word, the font size 12 point and so on, or it could be one-sided or two-sided, or one column. One column is a default, but two columns if you want to have, like for example, in the case of IEEE transactions, you need to have a 2 columns, then you can probably use that particular thing. And with the title page or without the title page, and open any. So generally the reports are open any, which means that the it does not have chapters, like in case of a book. Reports will only have sections, so it can open at any, right? But the books have got chapters. You cannot have a chapter opening in the left side of a book. So if you take any book, the chapters, even if it does not have any text in the left hand page, chapters are generally done in the right. So we generally prefer it is open right. So there's another option called open right, and draft and other related things you should know about options in LaTeX. And this is the basic overview of typesetting books in LaTeX. Let's take a look at the hands-on thing, right? So I'll stop share this and I'll share the LaTeX. Right, let me close everything. So I'll just close. Right, let's take a look at is my text maker visible? Is my text maker visible? The software? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So we'll be doing the hands-on thing now. So kindly pay attention. So this will be a really, really interesting thing. So I've given you enough overview of what is this particular, LaTeX and typesetting the books with LaTeX, and peripheral overview. Now we actually do the task. We will create a sample book, and then we'll see how things we can modify and make use of and create a final document. Right? So the first thing is you can go to file and create new, right? The first and foremost important thing, I advise all the students to save your file then and there. Normally they start typesetting it and intermediately if there's an error happen, and if they have not saved it, they tend to lose the entire document. So that should not happen to the students that I'm teaching, right? So first and foremost important thing is save. So I'm going to save this as something called a book project. Say I'm gonna save it as like book project. Already I have a sample book, so I'll show you that. Same thing called book project. You can specify with .tex with extension, or if you simply leave that, that gets changed into text format, right? I'm gonna save this, right? And I'll go to very important thing is called options and configure text maker, right? So in this case, there are different things. One is called built-in viewer and it's called embedded viewer. If you click embedded viewer, the output gets visualized in the right hand side. So I'm not gonna use that for this moment. So I'm gonna click this in built-in viewer and quick build. I'm just gonna give you with PDF LaTeX plus view PDF. So we'll be typesetting bibliography in a due course of time in this lecture. But then at the starting point, I'll be keeping with PDF LaTeX plus view PDF, right? And then for this course, for example, the font size 14 may not be very visible. So I'm gonna increasing it to something like 20, right? And my favorite font is Garamond. But if you want to change it to your specific formats like the Arial, Times New Roman, and so on, you can very well go out and do it. Keep UTF-8 as the default font encoding and so on, right? So I'm gonna save this for a moment by clicking OK. Now you can see the fonts text is a little bit bigger. So first and foremost is the document class. The advantage of LaTeX is that I told you, I mean the text maker is that I told you it's intelligence capacity. So I just type in only document. It just asks me whether you wanted to have a document class with the options and with the class file. So I'm going to click OK. The default for a book is 10 points. So I'm not going to use 10 points. So I'm going to use 11 points. And the class file I'm going to give us book. If I keep a book as capital B, it will throw me an error stating that this particular class file is not found. So remember, it's case sensitive, and then it's a preamble. So whatever you type in with the percentage symbol, it is a quotation. So for example, I'm do this because it does not get compiled. You can see it's in gray color. And for my understanding, I'm just typeset as preamble, and then I'll just type in begin document. As soon as I click begin document, you can see the end document. So started coming up. So this is the advantage of this. Right? So I'm going to click close. Click save, and then I'm going to compile it. So you can go to this quick build and check whether you have checked that, and then you can click this, or you can press F1 in your keyboard. That will also get compiled. Let me click this. So it will start save and then compile it, right? So now you can see the file not found. The reason is that we have just created the text, but we have not added anything. Like for example, what is this, that, nothing is there, right? So this is a sample book, right? Now if I save and if I start compiling, you can see we have a page. You can see the book has got the page number at the top right hand corner, and this is a sample book, right? So now I'm just minimize this for a moment. Now I'll give additional comments like it is like open, right? So that's a default for book, but you don't have to really give that. But for understanding, you can keep this an open, right? And then I'll incorporate a package called use package. Say for example, PI font. So if I get something called PI font, I'll save this and say for example, this is a book and I put /ding, which is a requirement for PI font. Say for example, I have got something around 182. So we'll show you what is PI font, but let's save this and compile this. That's actually done. So let me see. This is sample book with circle font. Let me take another example of 172. How that looks like in PI font. Yeah, you can see this is one. Say I give a random number, say 132. I also know don't have any idea what is that. Let's take a look at that 132. It is also not available. Let me check with one, or I can say 76. Yeah, something like a symbol has appeared, like star or something like that, right? So you can take a look at the PI font here. So PI font, is my screen visible? Is my web page visible? So these are the different symbols about, for example, we typeset in 182, then 172. Then we have got something around the star, as a star somewhere like 76. Yeah, here it is. Yeah. So this is something we should know, right? The next and foremost important is the size of the document, right? So kindly pay attention here. Let me revoke this PI font, or you can even comment this by pressing that. So this will not be active. So once this is not active, this will be not functioning. That will throw us an error. The next is you can click use package. I don't want the package is called geometry. The package is called geometry, and then it will ask me for the page size and something like that. So let me quickly give you a brief overview of the document size. For fiction books, it is generally 4.25 by 6.87 inches width. For textbook, let's take a look at the example of a textbooks where the size is 8.5 cross 11, which is the largest among the textbook. So we'll take a look at that, right? So we'll take a look at that. I have also written the code so that to save time. Let me open this thing book. So I've got two-sided book, width 8.5 and height 11, and left margin is 1 inch, right margin is 1 inch, top margin is 1 inch, and bottom margin is 1 inch, and it's geometry. And I'm gonna click here, and it's a two-sided book, so which means that it is printed back to back, right? So I'm gonna click save, and I'm gonna compile this. Now you can see the documents gets altered based on the dimensioning, right? So now we can't see it much visibly. Let's use a package called, I think it's blind text. Blind text. So that will be, something called blind text. It will print Lorem Ipsum's document or something like that. Let's take a look at that. Yeah, something to show you here or something like that. Now you can see how beautifully this is aligned You can see how beautifully the both sides gets aligned. And you can see this is a sample book, and you can see this is auto indent. So I'm not interested in that. So I'm going to click no indent. So I'll save that and I'll compile. That will take me to, you can see it's a perfect listing. So this is how you generally for thesis, we'll be looking into this much detail, right? Or blind text, I'll just say some 5 or something like that. I think it's 5 paragraph or 5 lines. Let me check that. Yeah, you can see it is a very big thing. It's almost a page. Let me go to 20. Let's take a look at that in much detail. Now you can see it's page 1, 2, 3. You can see how beautifully it gets covered and something like that. Just to give you a feel, you can see the page is right. This is the first page. Second page, you can see it's in the left. So which means that this is a left-hand side paper. It is not here. You can see it is not here. It's automatically taken because of our two-sided paper and opened right. So chapters and everything gets opened like this. Like say, for example, I'm going to create a chapter. I'll just say called introduction. And I'll just open another chapter. It's called something like research, something like that. Then I just use the blind text, the same blind text, but instead of this, I'll just put 10 and 10. I'll save this and I'll compile this. I have opened 2 chapters. You can see chapter 1 introduction, and it runs. You can see automatically chapter 1 introduction has comes in the picture, and chapter 2, you can see it's on 3rd page. Why it is on 3rd page? Because we opened right. Say for example, let's increase this to 15. Let's increase that to 15 so that like we'll have half a page. Right. So this is chapter 1, page number 2 and 3. And you can see in page 4, it's empty. And it starts on page 5. Chapter 2 starts on page 5, which means that it is opening at right. Despite this huge blank page, it is starting at the odd number of pages, the right hand side pages. And chapter 2 is on research and so on, right? Something like that. So this are some of the basic things. Let's actually build a book, right? So one important thing I want to tell you is, let me close this for a moment. So if you have a packages list, say for example, I've just did a sample book, which has got many packages. You can see it runs pages and pages. So many packages available, and till begin document, all these things are packages. That itself is pretty much high. Even a sample document I've just created is almost 100 and oh no, it crosses even 232 lines of code. This will be intimidating for many of you, right? So scrolling down through pages. So piece of advice is, you have to create a new document called, you can save this as a preamble. Let's save this as a, remember it's a case sensitive preamble, and you can give us save. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all these things. Actually, you can make a preamble, a new renewable document or something. New command or something like that. But I just prefer to have a single file called preamble. Whatever that comes between, gets stored. Right. So this is preamble, and you can see that gets stored in the file that I saved my book project. Right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my book project. I'm going to close this for a moment, for a moment. I have a book project and I've got a preamble, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click include. For people who do thesis in LaTeX, so this will be a handy. So kindly pay attention. So remember, I have set preamble as this text like preamble. So which means that I'm including the text file as preamble. Say for example, this is book. So I'm gonna click save and I can compile. So whatever I have given in the preamble that gets read, then the book gets processed. So it's a very, very important thing that you should really know about how to incorporate the preamble stuffs. It takes a lot of time because I've given quite a long list of packages and something like that. Yeah, it's finally did, but you can see the geometry and all other things are met, right? Something, this is a very, very interesting thing that you should really know about, in typesetting. Next, take a look at, we'll just open book. I'll just open book. All those things is done. Let me go to the let's take a look. I'll just copy this particular thing. Fine. I'll just close this preamble for a moment. Book and book project, right? Something like that, right? So I'm gonna now create, the title page, right? So the title page, I can do it like typesetting books and variants, RQs, write code variants with LaTeX is the next line. Then I've got cover.pdf, which is already I have uploaded a PDF file called cover. I've already have a cover page. So it's a sample cover page. You can take a look at that. Sample cover page. And it's there. And then I've just had 2 centimeter, I've just did whatever I like 2022 unabridged version. This page style is empty, right? So I'm gonna click and I'm gonna compile this. It will take a little time, but it's worth the wait because the output will be a really beautiful diagram. The reason it takes a lot of time is that because we have got a lot of packages in the preamble. That's why it took a lot of time, right? So you can see here, I say typesetting books and variants with LaTeX version 2. And this is the image from the cover. And then you can see it has gone to next page. So I'm gonna alter this. Say for example, here, I'll just give it like 1 centimeters. I'll give it save. So that I wanted to, make sure that everything falls in places. So it's a trial and error. Nobody can have a complete code. So it's trial and error. And in the next portion, we'll be taking a look at the preface, acknowledgement, table of contents, then some chapters, then with the bibliography. So that will be an overall view of how to typeset the book, right? So it takes some time. And also depends upon the processor. Like I've got i5 processor. If you have got i7 or something, it will compile even more faster. You can see I've just managed to bring it in a single page. Right. Something. This is how you just do it on your own. Next, I'm gonna do the preface. Remember, this is the title page. This is the title page. Or you can even use it by begin title page and title page also, but I prefer to have some thing because this will be very useful for creating magazines where you don't have to actually rely upon the title page. Instead, you can create graphics and stuff into it or something. The next very important thing is the front matter. So font style. So we'll take a look at this in detail. Right. So I'll just front matter, and this is a preface. I'm going to create a preface. Remember, end document should be the end. So next we can have spaces like front matter. Now the front document of it, like for example, page style front. So what I have done is I have given in my preamble like fancy header, the chapter names, and looks a little different. And also have got my own variation of chapter. I'll let you know. And font sizes of the part chapters and all little different, and so on. Right. So this is the thing. So that's how it is page style front. I've just default font. I've just modified to my requirement. This is preface. Let me take acknowledgement also. Let me take acknowledgement. Like you see, I have used a package called chapter code. That generally in acknowledgement you can have your chapters and something like that. So this is a complete set of acknowledgement. I'll just paste that here. After preface, I'll paste my acknowledgement. I'll compile this. Let's see how this looks like. So it'll be a really, really interesting thing if you take a look at that. So at this moment, we have just created a title page, also called a front page. It could be a book cover, or it could be a magazine cover, or so on. But now we have gone to preface and acknowledgement. And let it compile. Let's see. Let's take a look at how that looks like. And my signature, I've kept it in a JPEG file, so that gets here. And also you can see in chapter there is an asterisk mark stating that this will not be included in the table of contents. So /chapter, an asterisk mark, and anything that comes within the bracket will not be included in the table of content. Remember, I've got this book name, I've got some image, my name, and then empty page. You can see it's opened right. So which means that preface starts on the right page, which is number 1. And just say this main purpose of this book is to, and so on, so fundamental concepts, something like that. And then it has a blank page. Then it goes to acknowledgements. Then you see chapter code, like if I have seen further, it's from Sir Isaac Newton. And then I'll have some text and my signature and my name beneath that, and that's pretty much an acknowledgement page. Now we have done basically, you can see the reason we had a front page, front matter is that these things will be in Roman numerals, and whereas the title page is not numbered, it's a blank page, so that you can make your designs and something like that. And even the next page of the title page is also empty, and you can see the preface and everything happens in acknowledgement. And the next is a very, very important thing, is called table of contents. Right. So let's take a look at I'll just give 1.5 line spacing. So 1/2 spacing will be the 1.5 line spacing. And then there is a main matter, main, and something like that. Like if I compile table of content now, you will not get any table of content. The reason is that even these 2 chapters does not belongs to table of content. So that not gets printed in table of contents. But instead, whatever I'm going to type it from the main matter, main page, that gets printed. Like for example, introduction. I have a part. Initially, it will be a part, then chapter, then section. So I just say introduction to typesetting, and I've got chapter as books. Then I have got a section as academic books, example. And you can have multiple sections also, like subsection will be subsection will be text books, something like that. I'm giving an example, and you can have a subsection also, like mathematics and so on. And after that, there's no subsection. It's just like paragraph, and it just say as we can say it's an optimization, something like that. I'm going to save this for a moment, and I've just compiled this. Let's take a look at how this looks like in a real scenario. You're about to see is the table of contents getting generated, but when you compile it for the first time, you will not get table of contents. Generally, it is required to compile couple of times. Then only you can create the table of contents. So I'll just show you what exactly I meant. So this is very true to your thesis also. Sometimes some scholars come and say, like, I compiled it, my content is not displayed in table of contents. So I just advise them to do it one more time, right? So then they'll get it. Like you can see chapter 1, books, section is academic books, textbooks is subsection, and this is subsection. You can see here. And part 1, introduction to typesetting. You can see this. And you can see that table of contents, there's nothing visible. There's nothing visible. So do not get carried away by that. You have to do one thing is you have to do again. You have to compile it again, so that after this instance, you will have the table of contents getting generated, right? So keep that in mind. Always compile twice, so that like first it will incorporate into the body, later into the front page, like in the case of a table of contents. After this, we'll be typesetting the definitions, theorems, and other related stuffs. I will give one problem to get typesetter. Then we will show you how it is done. Right? So now nothing changed here, but you can see in table of contents, it gets automatically enabled. Like part 1 is introduction to typesetting, page number 1, and books. Yeah. And books, probably the chapter and section and subsection and so on, right? So this is simple. So for example, if I want to go to academic books, I can click this and it will go to that particular page. That's the power or the advantage of using LaTeX. Say for example, what happens if I remove one of this accidentally? Say for example, I'll go here. I'll just make this a subsection also. If I remove one, this number gets automatically aligned. Say for example, mathematics. I'll just have to do it very quickly so that people are waiting. I'll just say calculus, something like that. Now I have to compile twice. Let it compile. Once it is done, let's accidentally remove one so that it gets automatically aligned. Right? So, I request the participants not to annotate the document, so it will be very disturbing for the people who are viewing. So it takes some time, quite a long time. So it's worth the wait. Once this is done, like you can see, same way as I told you, I've just incorporated these changes, but table of contents will only carry the previous thing like textbooks, but one thing got removed, like the subsection got removed, right? So next time when you compile it, it gets added and something like that, right? Now what we can do is, let's take a look at typesetting some definitions, right? So what we have done is we have modified the definition packages by framed theorem. Like definition, we'll put it in the frame, and theorems and other related stuff, we will put it as like something. So I'll just copy this. It's a convex set and corner point in linear programming problem. So I'm going to click this. Let me put that in the beneath calculus or something like that, right? So I have a definition with the convex set and convex point within the frame. FRM stands for frame. This is my own representation. What I'm taken is, I've taken the theorem package or environment, then I've just modified it to framed theorem. And theorem is basically begin theorem and theorem, as many of you know. So I'll show you both so that you can understand much better. And these theorems gets automatically numbered. Right? So for example, if I give label, I can cite it in I can cite it inside the document. Let's compile this. Let's compile this so you can understand much better. Here we are, it's compiled. You can see the definition 1, convex set and corner point. It's in the frame, and you can see it's in italics. And theorem is also italics. You can see theorem 1.1.1. The reason is that comes under this particular section, right? If you put it in the other chapter, this automatically gets numbered, and so as the other theorems or other definitions in the thing, right? So basically, I teach operational research. One important thing in that is a linear programming problem. So we'll teach that something like that, right? Now the next step, since as I told you, textbook mathematics and calculus. So for example, if I remove mathematics, or I just make it a comment, so that will not get printed. So on the second compilation, this gets automatically updated, right? So this is 1.1, 1.1.1, this is 1.1.2, rather than it's 1.1.3, something like that, right? So I'll show you. This will go, and calculus will become 1.1.2 automatically. That's the advantage of LaTeX. So in case of your thesis, if you have a multiple chapters and sections, if you happen to remove one, so you don't have to really worry about the numbering as in case of other word processing. Tech automatically will take care of it. I mean, the LaTeX will automatically take care of it, right? So this is something. Next, we'll go a problem.
Sir,
Yes. Yes, sir.
Sir, for the begin frame box, sir, can you show that the preamble part?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Package
sir.
we are using that
The modified one, sir.
Yeah. That we have to show.
You can visualize the preamble. Control F, FRM. And I just find where that is. You can see this is definition. I have made it as new framed theorem. So which means that this is generally everybody know framed, and N theorem is framed. And I want the definition. Generally, it will be begin definition, end definition. But I wanted to rename that as framed theorem. Is that fine, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because
okay.
that we are not giving to the participants.
Okay, sir. Fine, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So just like as I told you beginning, you can have one document as preamble, another is new comment or something like on your own. Say for example, one comment we'll use is for Python. For Python coding, we'll be using this new Python inline code and the box listing code. Generally for programming, we'll be taking it listing environment. So we just modify the Python environment from the listing, and we try to do it with Python. I'll show you the Python thing shortly, but this is how you just make it. So that's the power of LaTeX. You can visualize, or you can typeset the document in whichever way you like and in more professional way. Right. Now let's take a look at the problem. This is an example problem. Say in a book, there will be a lot of example problem. So want of time, I'll just copy paste this. I have a Python code also. Let me break down what I'm going to talk about is, say I'll put it under optimization, right? Say this is the problem, say gardener's problem. There are two varieties of shrubs, and gardener have to make 20 individual shrubs and given money, and gardener makes a profit of 45 rupees by plant 1 and plant 2, and formulate this as a linear programming problem. It's actually a two variable linear programming problem. This is in fact the very basic problem that we teach for this course called operational research in linear programming problem. So X and Y, and this is the criterion and objective function, and then like constraints, and then finally we'll just have non-negativity restriction, and we have a graphical solution also. So I generally did the graphical method in using Tixi and pgfplot. So in one lecture, one of our colleagues will teach on graphing. So I'm just not doing that. And then this is a Python code. Like we have t-color box, and we have a Python snippets for that. Let's take a look at how that looks like. So I'm gonna compile this for a moment. As the document quantity increases or the content increases, the compilation time also will be generally increasing exponentially, right? So the reason is that if we have a 600-page document, what I suggest you to do is just like we did our preamble, you can click include chapter 1, chapter 2, and so on, so that you only compile one chapter at a time. And finally, when everything is set, you can compile it as a whole, so that it saves a lot of time instead of compiling all the chapters together or something like that. Right? So that's one important thing. Let's take a look at that. And Rupee symbol, you can see I've just used Rupee symbol. Before that, let's take a look at let's take a look at this thing. It's not gone, so I'll just compile it one more time. But you can see in the text, you can see 1.3 calculus becomes 1.2 calculus. And you can see this, it's because this is a paragraph. I forgot to end this line, so that's a problem. And then you can see the Rupee symbol and the table and the equations. And you can see the graphical view of this particular problem. So this house, like, let me correct the mistake. So you have to correct the mistake then and there. So if you happen to find, so double slash is to end the line. So I'm going to click save, and then I'm compile it again. So that looks very beautiful. This problem, you can see I put example 1. So you can put example 1.1 also, depending upon your requirement. Right. So this example, this box, this questions will be there, and the solutions of that, you have to typeset it. And then supposing you give this problem as a handout to students, they really appreciate you. They will don't have much time and they don't waste much time and effort in understanding this problem. Instead, they will have a quick understanding of this particular problem. Okay, so there's no error. Then we have to give V space like 0.2 centimeters. Right. So generally paragraphs or similar lines when which you can typeset, but instead we have the box as underneath. So we have got an error. So one important thing is you should know about the different methods to handle errors. So if one thing does not click, you have to really find out the other solution. And it's not very difficult if you practice for quite a long time. Let's take a look at this. This typical problem, I have got tables like begin table R and so on. And then I have got equations. Yeah, here I think let's take a look at V space. We'll force it to end the line, maybe now. This is just to force with V space, something like that. Right. So the next thing we'll be looking at the exercise problems. Then we will try to compile the bibliography, which is very important. The exercise problem is equally important because the end of your book will always have exercise problems to be dealt. All right. So I'll just add some comments like this. Technique. I'll just give 4 points. Let's take a look at that. Right, so don't waste time. We will just directly jump in the exercise problem. So the exercise is beginning exercise and end exercise. I've got 6 problems, 6 graphing of linear inequalities. Let's take a look at the exercise problems. I'll just, by this, it looks very difficult to understand, but when it gets compiled, it will be very beautiful and awesome. And up to this is the, here. Up to this is the exercise. And also I'll provide solution thing. Let's take a look at quickly. So I'm just giving you an overview of, the exercises, something like that. So this is question number 1, slash question. And then we have got this question, graph the linear inequality with 6 problems. A task is problem. This is problem number 1, problem number 2. Let me compile and show you this thing quickly so that you understand how to give the exercise problems. There are a lot to cover in books actually, but I'm giving you a periphery of important steps. You can give index, not only glossaries, but also index of the authors. And you can have a multiple bibliography. One is the standard bibliography. Another one is the references after every chapter. So there are a lot of things that you can do it in. So you can explore with this basic knowledge. You can try to explore in much detail the concepts of the LaTeX and LaTeX typesetting. Here we are. I can see. Now you can see I just had a line and it's break it and it gets properly aligned. And this is a Python code. And you can see it's a review exercise. I've got 6 problems, 6 mathematical inequality problems or system of linear inequalities probably. And then I've got this, but I've not got the solution for this. Generally solution will be at the end, the back of the book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this and I'm going to set this particular thing. I'm going to click the answers. All right, so I have given the answers in all PDFs, exercise 1 to 6. I just did in a quick manner for this particular program. I've just only given the answers, but I'm not given the solutions to be printed. To that, I will be creating a special chapter called answers that will not be there in table of contents, but the answer for the problems will be there. Like I'll just go quickly. I'll just go quickly and I'll just save this so that I can check the answers. And since all these things nowadays are PDFs or online books, so that you can use hyperlinks to connect the solutions and problems, the pages of the solutions with problems. Let me tell you what I just explained. We can create answers to the given questions, and then you can navigate to that to and fro for a PDF version. If it gets printed and the details of the page number will be there and it will be static and you can still able to view the answers and something like that. Yes, it gets compiled. Now you can see the answers in a separate page. Chapter 1, exercise 1.1, page number 5. If I click page 5, that will go to this thing. So the question is here in this chapter, and the answer is in a separate chapter. At the end of actually, we don't have much chapters, so that it comes next. So it will be generally the end of this book. Answers will be generally end of this book. So these are the inequalities gets graphed. So I'll just not finish these problems, but to give you a quick overview. So this is how you just generally do the exercise problems. The next, we quickly go through appendix, then index, then bibliography. Right? So just quickly, this is a back matter. You can even remove back matter and you can copy paste that. This is a book project. Let me open this. So this is the appendix. begin appendix and end appendix. I want to have something called mathematics in appendix, something like that. We can give different name. Then index and bibliography. Since we don't have index and bibliography right now, so it will not get printed. It will throw us error. So let me first compile the appendices. Since want of time, I'm just running a little quickly, but it's worth the time to know about the appendix and index very detailed manner that will add more weightage to your final book. Takes some time, but it's worth the wait. So once that is done, you can see Appendix A, mathematics, but it takes twice to be there in the table of contents, the appendix teachers and something like that. Let's take a look at something we can provide it in appendix. Say, for example, let's typeset the sample space. Generally, in mathematics, people who teach us statistics, they used to give an example of the dice problem. A single die gets rolled. You can give something in visually like this, for example. There's a package called EPS die. So if you have that package, let me compile it and show you. So instead of just a blank appendix, I'll have something like this, so that you can see the dice gets rolled, different dice gets rolled. And this is sample space. Very visually, you can see the dice very visual. So that's the, you can put all your creativity in LaTeX in typesetting. So yeah, you can see how beautiful the sample space is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So it's a roll of die, and so many different things. You can even bring people. Say, for example, there's something called Pixie people. You can drop, you can bring a predetermined human, models, something like that. So this is Pixie people, and you can see people have used that to represent the one-to-one relation and something like that, mathematical thing. And there are a lot of people you can see like Alice, Bob, Bride, Builder. I generally use for my civil engineering construction management course. Then businessman, Charlie, chef, conductor, and so many funny images also, and something like that. So you can bring that, and you can even interpolate both the stems, like Mexican physician, something like that. So you can even do, the compatibility should be there. You can see the male conductor and female conductor, and good sailor, it is something like that. So you can have and orientation, church with laptop, and something like that. And so many things you can do with this. So you can use Pixie people, and you can start making your lecture notes more beautiful, especially people who teach statistics, queuing theory. You can probably manage to bring in real simulations and something like that. Right, so this is appendix, and I can see, you can see the appendix of mathematics. So click of a button, it will take you to this page. The next is print index and bibliography. So this will be our final takeaway today. So that will complete the the hands-on on book. For index, say for example, let's take a look at textbook. Right, say we'll have something called index. Operations research, not in the same page. We'll have, but we only have one chapter. After this, probably we'll have Python called index optimization, something like that. So I'll quickly run through this /index and open bracket and close bracket, whatever that gets listed in index. Right? I have a bibliography file, which is extension is .bib. 2 books on finite element analysis for the sample description. I've got 2 books. One is the Megger and it's Rajasekaran. There are a couple of ways you can introduce the bibliography. Create the reference. One is, say, for example, I cite somebody. It's like I cite P, and I just say, I'll just go to my, I just close the bibliography. Say, for example, I take him and I'll just cite them like a research paper. Yeah, I think it's come. I'll just say current. Right. Or I can even, for example, like textbooks, we generally don't cite, but instead we'll give bibliography at the end. So in that case, I think we have given Rajasekaran only. So there's something called no cite also. No cite. I'm just going to give in both them. The new page, right? So what I'm going to do is, if I start compiling, like for example, configure quick build with this, the bibliography will not be generated. Like, let me quickly run this. So I need to compile using the second option called bib LaTeX, so that the bibliography gets generated, or something like that. One of the difficult thing about LaTeX is the waiting time for the compilation, but it's worth the wait. You will get more beautiful, more visual textbooks or any reports, whatever might be. If you typeset journal articles using LaTeX, so supposing if one journal gets, sends the paper stating that's no scope, you can summarily submit it to the another journal with only minimum effort. But in terms of Word, it will take a lot of time, right? So it has built actually the bibliography, but yeah, index is also got to compile. But always use configure bib LaTeX and so on. So you have to give that. So you have to give that very quickly. It takes a lot of time for compilation for in case of bib LaTeX. We made a mistake actually. We have compiled the book.tex, but we are actually working on bookproject.tex, right? So that's how the bibliography gets visualized. Sometimes if you have multiple files, you have this confusion of which file to compile and something like that. Let it runs quickly so that you can see in this case, I've just given all this packages listed here. And as compared to the one which we have done and something like that. And so on. Let it compile, and so that will just clear. The problem is you cannot force build, because if you build, the tech maker can crash. So generally we'll wait even if we made a mistake. Right. So anyway, this book is also equivalent to what we have covered today in book project. So let it be. So the next thing you can carry away from this, session is that how to make different, the layouts or something. So this is a book chapter. with the references like this and this. And let's go to chapter 1, Rajasekaran 2016, right? Something like that. Right. So this is how automatically you can even click here and it goes to this page. Bibliography. If you have multiple bibliographies, then probably it'll be very useful if you compile it in LaTeX. Right. So let me show you the bibliography before we wind the class today. So bibliography is just like series of codes. For example, book. Both of them are book. If you want to compile, can take bib LaTeX, article and journal. Then you have author, title, journal title, year, and even DOI. OPT is optional. You can, if you remove that, then that will get included in your, the references and something like that. Say, I have just used some random bibliography. Okay, so like AGSF. There are different styles like plain, Harvard, APA, and so on. Chicago style and so on. So you can probably select that particular style file and you can include that and something like that, right? So that's it from today. I'm glad to answer some few of the questions before we wind the session today. I hope you really enjoy this lecture.